Today we're blind tasting the entire standard Michter's lineup. Let's see which one's the best. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, this has actually been a video that I have been wanting to do for quite some time since I acquired all 4 of these standard offerings from Michter's. To be honest with you, one of the reasons I've delayed in doing it is that I have had mixed feelings about Michter's, and I think that it started with this American whiskey, which is the first one that I got, highly recommended as a sort of beginner whiskey, and it just didn't hit on all cylinders for me. But maybe my palate's changed since then, maybe it'll shine today. The other factor here is that Michter's products are traditionally low proof, so all of these I believe sit in the 80s, maybe low 90s. I think the bourbon might be low 90s, but they're also in that like $40 to $50 range. So they're not exactly super affordable as a beginner, and they're lower proof. So that always raises some questions, but over time, I have come to appreciate Michter's a heck of a lot more, and the variety they have in their lineup. I've got a Michter's 10-year-old rye that is one of my favorite ryes I've ever tasted, if not the best. So I figured, let's get all 4 on the table today. Let's taste them. Let's rethink our approach to Michter's and just see what shines today. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna taste through all these blind, and we're gonna see which one I think is the best whiskey of them all and kind of discern the levels here. But just so you know what's involved, we've got the Michter's US 1 Bourbon. This is a 91.4 proof, so I was right in the low 90s. We don't know much about mash bill here. Overall, Michter's is not the most transparent, but this one sits right around that $45 mark. Then we've got the single barrel rye. So this is a single barrel, meaning you might get a little variation per bottle. It is 84.8 proof, and again, right in that $45 range. It's the one with the green label. Then you've got Michter's US 1 American whiskey. This is 83.4 proof, so 1 proof point lower than the rye. This is unblended American whiskey. That could mean a lot of things, but I think it's widely thought that this is just aged primarily in already used American oak. So basically, barrels that were used to make bourbon before were used to age this for what we presume is most of its life. So shouldn't necessarily affect things, might mellow things out a little bit. And then this is the sour mash. This is 86 proof, very typical proof. This is sort of thought to be a mix of bourbon and rye. At least 45% in the mash bill of bourbon and rye is what the rumor is here. Again, undisclosed, but this is what really started to turn my thinking on Michter's, and I really came to appreciate this bottle. So interested to see how it stands up to the rest. Okay, so let me clear off these bottles here. We'll set up the full blind, we'll mix it all up, and then we'll dive in. And we're back. Got the entire blind set up here, put it on my little stave to make it look a little prettier, and I have no idea what the order is here. So we'll just start down on this end and call this glass A, work our way all the way down to the other end and call this glass D. But we'll start on the nose with glass A. Ooh, light and bright. Some fruit. Nice cherry brown sugar kind of mix. Honey. A little bit of a floral aspect maybe even here. Touch of astringency. But overall very light, bright, fruity, some apple, cherry, vanilla, brown sugar. A very solid nose, especially for something low proof, very approachable. Let's go to glass B on the nose. Ooh, much more gooey brown sugar, oak. A little bit more depth to this one. Still adding in maybe like a little lemon citrus, touch of spice, black pepper, cinnamon kind of spice. That one definitely has a layer of depth that glass A did not have though. All right, let's go to glass C on the nose. Whoa. Way more honey, vanilla, almost maltiness, some butter, something super sweet, nectar kind of sweet as well. Yeah, honeysuckle kind of sweetness here. These are going to be tough to tell apart, which is great. I have not tasted a single one of these standard offerings for probably multiple months, which gives me like basically no orientation on what any of these are. Probably won't even be able to pick out the rye, to be honest with you, especially with the sour mash in there, bringing some rye components. It's going to be great. This one has like a little musty note to it. Maybe a touch of chocolate. Oak. Yeah, but this one has some sort of musty wood, sawdust, maybe a touch of graininess. This one has the least fruit and the most oak. I don't know, there's something about that one. I know I keep saying musty, but it's something I'm not particularly loving right now. Yeah, I think these first three all very, very solid, and this last one, whatever it is, something weird's going on there. We'll have to track that on the palate though. Let's dive in here and get a lot more information from the palate. Just before we do start sipping, I do want to say, if you're enjoying all the content coming out of the channel, we'd love to have you aboard as a subscriber for the rest of 2024, hoping to produce a lot more great content for you all. While you're at it, hit the like button on this video and then comment down below. If you've tasted any or all of these Michter's offerings, these standard ones, what's your favorite? What do you think the best bang for your buck is? All right, let's go into glass A on the palate. Cheers. Nice. Added the layers of depth that I was kind of missing on the nose. It's got good brown sugar and oak on the palate. Good sweet apple and vanilla. So it's like brown sugar covered apple slices in a sense. Very nice. Very straightforward. Didn't bring a lot of complexity. The finish is like pretty much just general vanilla, touch of caramel sweetness. So not a ton of complexity on the back end, but it just kind of hits you with a nice, very, very pleasant experience on the palate. Okay, let's move on to glass B here. Nice. Brown sugar and cherry. Vanilla for sure. Much better lingering power here. The general sweetness of glass A was still pleasant, but this one has a lot more staying power with its brown sugar. That's definitely sticking around. A little bit of that cherry as well. Tiny touch of spice in the mid palate, but not much. But I like the way this one's lingering with a little bit more discernible. I am gonna keep you feeling that brown sugar for a little bit longer, a little bit of that cherry, and it also had a nice strain of honey throughout most of that sip. Okay, let's go to glass C on the palate now. Cheers. Yeah, so this one has, again, a lighter, brighter feel, more honeysuckle, nectar, sweetness. It's got a layer of brown sugar and oak that kick in the back, but it comes forward with this honey sweetness for sure. I think that if this one doesn't have some sort of rye component to it, I would be very surprised, because it's definitely giving me more of that floral, fruity bouquet with the honey nectar sweetness. It's much more bright, whereas glass A and glass B had more rounded, dark flavors. This one has those light, bright, juicy flavors. Good amount of cherry and apple on this one as well. All three of the first ones, though, I wouldn't say that they're light years apart. I can tell that they're pretty related here. There's subtle nuances, but they aren't in totally different ballparks, which is fascinating. All right, last but not least, glass D on the palate. Kind of a weird nose. We'll see how that all transfers over. Cheers. It did kind of transfer over to the palate. Kind of a musty, oaky, woody presence, and then a distinct note of like buttered popcorn. Butter. Definitely butter and brown sugar. It's fascinating. Caramel as well. This one has less fruit, and again, it goes more wood, butter, popcorn, maybe just straight up corn notes. It lingers for a good amount. It's almost salty or savory a little bit on the back end with that buttered popcorn. Fascinating. And then caramel, kind of butterscotch layers. So maybe the least complex per se. I don't know, Glace wasn't super complex either. I'm struggling to describe this one because again, it's the only one that tastes distinctly different, and it has this weird buttered popcorn note. All right, what I'm gonna do now is go back in reverse order, start doing some A/B comparisons and really kind of figure out the layered nuances here, and then pick my order. I'll fast forward through all of that so that you guys don't have to watch this video for like an hour, and then we will reveal our order and our winner and talk through the differences here. All right, everybody, we're back. Gone through, reverse order, A/B tested, come to some interesting conclusions. Let me talk you through my order here. Probably not going to surprise you, but my least favorite today was Glass D. Again, just stands out with that musty weirdness and a little bit of a buttered popcorn note. That's not my favorite. I'm going to guess that this is the American whiskey, but I could be totally wrong. Let's see. It is. The US 1 American whiskey comes in 4th place. Again, I struggled with this when I first got it. That's one of the reasons I hesitated with other Michter's products. I really do think there's a lot of caramel butterscotch, and then there's that butter popcorn note, and I just find it weird. And I find the musty note a little bit weird. In any case, that's 4th place. Then 3rd place for me, this was where these other 3 really started to kind of just circle around each other, and I had to just pick one. But any of these could have ultimately taken home the win, maybe if my palate was feeling different, you know? So these are all kind of on the same plane. But for me, in 3rd place ended up being Glass A. Started to fall a little bit flat. It just lacked the depth and complexity of the other 2 as time went on. I think the spice of Glass B helped it hold up a little bit better. So let's see what Glass A was. I'm a little worried this is the sour mash, and what I thought was my favorite might be coming in 3rd here. Let's see. It is. The sour mash. I really liked the apple fruit note on the nose with the brown sugar. I just think it lacked some of the punch of these other 2, which leaves us with the bourbon and rye. To be honest with you, I wouldn't have put the bourbon anywhere above the sour mash. The rye I think is solid, so I'm not surprised that that's still in the running. But wow, that changes things. Okay, what came in 2nd and what came in 1st? For me today, 2nd place, which will also reveal 1st place, was Glass C. I do think this is probably the rye now. It has this honeysuckle sweetness to it that's really attractive. It's got strawberry notes and then some, brown sugar dusting in there. It's just nice. It's just a nice rye. Let's see if it actually was the rye. I just said it was the rye. I have no idea. I think it is, but I could be totally wrong. Let's see. I wasn't. All right. That's the rye. Definitely presents as a rye. Has more of a fruit-forward, floral bouquet, and just nice complexity, nice depth for something that isn't that high proof, which leaves our winner as the ultimate surprise here for me. The bourbon. I've dug into this one the least because I just found it a little forgettable as a bourbon, but maybe, calling this a sour mash, knowing this is a rye, this is an American whiskey, they put themselves in distinct categories, and the bourbon I kind of slept on. It might also be that 91 proof, a good 4 to 5 proof points higher than any of the rest, and I do think that extra punch helped it stand up in a blind. So that's good to note as well. Again, I really wrestled with these three. The sour mash and the bourbon I went back and forth on because they were similar. They were more similar. It really is, the sour mash is kind of a mix of these two, but today for some reason it just fell a little flat on, the third, fourth sip. The bourbon and the rye though, they're pretty solid, especially for low proof options. The rye is very complex and the bourbon's pretty straightforward, but it's got a nice rich brown sugar profile to it. All right, everybody, let me know in the comments below, did this turn out the way you thought? If you've ever done this blind or tasted all 4 of these, what are your favorites and what are your least favorites? Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, revisit those distilleries that you maybe judged a little too harshly at first, and cheers.